Are you recording locally too?
Yeah, I
Or
always
no?
do.
Don't-
No, I always record locally.
Really?
Yeah. But
Why you're the best in the business, Bob?
it records locally. It records locally to my Dropbox drive, so we both could get access to it if we had to. But
Okay. All right. So I'm using Reaper, which is not free, but a very kind of Windowsy digital audio workstation. And I was having this little garbly thing before you jumped on there, and I solved it by putting a noise gate on there. So the floor, but I raised the floor. So if you were at a certain intensity, you didn't come through. And that takes me to your Focusrite. Remember how you were having trouble with your Focusrite for so long? Like it would garble over time?
yes,
Do you still use the Focusrite?
I do not. I am using a Behringer rig at the moment, but the Focusrite was fine until like X number of minutes. Like,
Yeah, so I Googled the snot out of that recently because I was going to buy a Focusrite. And apparently, yeah, that's the thing. Like the Windows buffer is flawed. Like Windows 10 buffer is flawed. It works great on Mac, but if you're using Windows 10, the underlying buffer overflows or fills up and it just turns into garbage. And the only way to make it right is to apparently clear the buffer by resetting the device. So that's what I've
right. And remember, I would actually change the bit depth, like toggle it, and then that probably refreshed that buffer as well.
Yeah, so I'm actually looking at getting a Behringer 2-channel USB. So I got a 8-channel mixer, which is great for live sound. The really crappy part about it is that when you hook that to a digital audio workstation, it only maps the mains. It doesn't map each of the 8 channels into a track. So that was kind of disappointing.
Oh, because the unit itself doesn't have that capability? Is that?
Exactly. So the mixer will be great for live sound, like when I want to play with the kids, one's on piano, one's on guitar, one's on bass,
right.
Whatever, one's singing. But for recording, I still need to get a new USB interface. I was looking at the Focusrite really hard, but since I don't record on Mac, I think I'm going to go with the Behringer 2-channel input one.
I got the 4-channel for that one. I have the UMC 40, or I guess it's UMC 404 HD.
I was looking at the 202.
Yeah, so. I really like it. It's a nice piece of equipment.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, we'll probably need to talk more about that at some point, maybe offline. Do some nerd notes on some gear. But you know what I was doing, Bob, right before we joined this meeting?
I saw that, and I'm intrigued in I don't know what kind of way, but go ahead, lay it on us. You are listening to the Bob and Kevin Show with Bob Beattybar
and Kevin Gishesky. Each week, we cover relevant tech and social issues related to technology.
And more weeks than not, we're joined by special guests to add additional perspective to our topics.
Our website is bobandkevin.show.
And our episodes can be found on virtually any podcast network.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Just search for Bob and Kevin Show.
I like to scan the headlines, tech headlines, in science. So those are the 2 hashtags I follow for headlines, whatever aggregator it is that I'm using, which I'm not even sure which one it is. It's just whatever comes on Android. But the damn flat earthers keep coming up. Like they're getting some sort of minority foothold, but it's still like this crazy amount of percentage of Americans who are like totally buying into this, and they've got a short list of celebrities.
Thing, so it's still happening.
It is still happening. Celebrities are jumping on the bandwagon. There's one or two, so that doesn't make a trend. And that's it. It's still disturbing. So what does Kevin do? Kevin goes on YouTube and what are these people saying? Oh, and that reminds me of the headline. Something about YouTube is working to somehow not delist them or get rid of them off their platform, but basically, how do we push them down the list, these conspiracy theories?
Yeah, they have a whole thing about any kind of disinformation now, right? Like they're trying to minimize disinformation.
Yeah, and then I'm sure we have a side rant about who gets to choose what's real and what's fake. So we'll set that hand grenade aside for now. But I decided to watch some of these videos, and there's one particular person that stood out as like the leader of the group. And I watched some of his videos. I'm like, oh my gosh, this dude's got like 75,000 followers on YouTube. He's monetizing.
Yikes.
Yeah, and just a year ago, he only had like, a few thousand. So this is like catching on. So I'm sure a good chunk of those are people who are just want to watch the circus from afar. But there's got to be so many people who are just into this sort of thing.
Really, I don't think that there's and who would subscribe just for, well, okay, I guess I would subscribe just for entertainment value. So
well, I subscribe to the real Donald Trump for just for entertainment purposes, if nothing else.
Fair enough. I guess I don't commit that hard on YouTube though.
So I was watching these videos and they have some compelling, like, yeah, I guess so. I guess you can't disprove that. But the one thing I think that drives...
Wait. I guess you can't disprove that. Give me a for instance of guess I can't disprove that.
The basic one. You haven't seen it with your own eyes, Bob, so you can't say for sure.
So I haven't been to space personally to witness the sphere that is the planet Earth. But so how about the moon? If that's a sphere, how is our planet not?
All right, so just to set the table here for the listener, we are amongst friends here. Bob and I are not flat earthers. I'm going to go on a limb, Bob, and classify you if that's okay. You can feel free to push back on that one, but
no, I am not for sure. But I feel like you've done your homework here, so this could be interesting.
I am not a flat earther. You're right. There's a lot of like, well, wait, are we really questioning 1 + 1 is 2 right now? And the answer is yes, we are. And what I think is driving a lot of these conspiracy theories is money. Because, hey, if I start some crazy, batshit crazy idea, and of course they'll tell you, well, it's not our idea. They thought this back in the day. That's my Alex Jones, by the way.
Interdimensional child molester.
You're really good at it, by the way. So basically, if I say, well, if you haven't gone to space yourself, how do you know for sure? You can't really argue against that other than pivoting and going, well, the science says this, you can do this own experiment. And it's very much similar to like paranormal investigators or Bigfoot. I guess that's paranormal too. It's where, they take one thing out of context and they say, see, this is proof. And then they ignore the other 100 pieces of evidence that obviously point to the contrary. So I'm going somewhere with this, Bob. Has social media, well, actually, before I go there, so we're going to talk about social media. So it's very common for military's got like psychological operations units, but we also have the CIA, we have KGBs of the world, what is the one in Israel, the Mossad, MI6 out of UK. Anyway, they're known for doing what they do, which is sometimes spreading disinformation to shape the narrative, right? And before social media came along, those were the only agencies that were very good at doing that. And I'm not suggesting anything other than intelligence agencies do that sort of thing. Okay, well, not breaking news.
It's a well-known tactical option that they have to create propaganda. I mean, governments have been removed based on propaganda, riling up the local folk to overthrow a government on behalf of somebody else, really.
And so that was the really long lead in to say, Bob, is social media now your handheld ability to do this for Joe user?
So you're just saying in the hands of a regular person, we're taking the governments out of it, because the governments are also utilizing. I mean, that's the new letter bombing. It's the new, leaflet drops from high above in planes. Social media is that tool. But I guess, yeah.
I guess that's what I'm saying, or positing is, has social media got this ability now that Joe User can start an idea, whether it's true or not, and create this movement. And man, I'm really going to get into the topics today. Anti-vaxxers is the similar topic, and that one is, so most people will say flat Earth crazy, but anti-vaxxers, I bet you know some anti-vaxxers, because I do. I don't know if you do, but I do. And
no, I guarantee I do, but I also think that they are slowly moving into the same category as flat earthers at this point. But that could be my take on it. But
if when you look through like their materials, you can call it propaganda, you can call it content, you can call it whatever, their message, it's very similar thing of they are spreading misinformation, but I'm not 100% sure they believe, or they don't believe what they're saying.
Well, wait, so you're saying that you're not sure that they believe what they're saying? Like they could just be helping spread it?
The contrary.
Contrary.
I'm saying they probably believe this.
Oh, 100%.
So they believe they're on the path of righteousness, that the earth is flat, or vaccines will do whatever to your children, and they spread it, and lower information people, I guess is the nice way to say it, totally eat this shit up. And social media is enabling us to be in this world.
Oh, man, you're totally baiting me in here. So I would say that if you look at a historical record, though, crazy conspiracy theories are only crazy conspiracy theories until the information comes to light that they aren't crazy conspiracy theories. I'm not saying that flat Earth is legit. I'm not saying that anti-vax is legit. However, we have a history of, alcohol and cigarettes. They had medicinal purposes, I'm sure, at one point in time in, the advertising world, plus in the government support of that regulated substance. So we just have a history of not being told the medical or factual truth until it was too hard to hide it anymore.
All right, since you took my bait, Bob.
Yes, I did. God damn it.
Who controls the truth, Bob?
Alex Jones. I have no idea who controls the truth. Like, that's the big thing. And we're picking two giant topics here with anti-vax or flat Earth, but you can fill in any blank. It's like soundbite taken from influential person to prove that influential person is either a demon or a deity. And depending on who's controlling the message, controlling that truth, that's how that message goes. And it's like we're surrounded by that 24/7, 365 now.
Which takes me to my next statement. I'm really like exhausted with social media anymore. I don't know who to believe anymore. I don't know who's just echo chamber. I don't know who's just low information. And I think the weird effect of social media is your friends and family will share things, and I think you will believe the message they are sharing based on your relationship with that person. And I think that goes beyond family. It goes to friends. So if somebody you follow, a celebrity on Twitter, pushes something, you're, I think, more or less likely to believe that something, even in the face of crazy like common sense or, what you've been told or learned, just your own observations based on how you idolize them or how you feel about.
Well, I'll take it even a step further. Because you followed this person, do the other people that follow you, does that necessarily mean that you endorse that person, that celebrity that you follow that might be an anti-vaxxing celebrity or a flat earth celebrity? And so without you even saying anything, you're putting yourself in a camp that you may or may not even belong to.
So I follow Barack Obama and I follow Trump. But if you happen to only stumble upon that I follow one or the other, I think you start making assumptions like, oh, well, he's a whatever because he follows so-and-so. Well, actually, if you looked at the whole list, which is not easy to do on somebody's follow list, you would say I actually follow both of them. And I will say, well, I follow Trump because, man, he's the guy who's going to create the nuclear winter or not in an instant, and might as well tune into that show. And then Barack Obama, well, he's actually, he's not a bad dude. He used to be president. We've only had 40 some of those, 45. I followed Hillary Clinton during the election. I don't follow her anymore, but yeah, I think you're right. People do make assumptions based on your
but you could totally, without knowing it, be building tribe as well. So someone sees that you followed DT and they're like, oh yeah, I knew that I liked Kevin for some reason, and I'm not sure why I slipped into Midwest urban.
I'm not sure what accent that was.
Yeah, I'm not even sure either. But anyway, and then somebody who follows that person sees that there's this kinship in that following, not looking beyond to see that you follow both, but all of a sudden, without your intention, you could also be building influence, because really that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And then something that you tweet about that could be related to social instead of code could all of a sudden be influencing, alleged flat earthers.
So the non-conspiracy theory of Kevin's social media strategy is I tweet typically about computer programming, because that's like the dye in my wool. I am a computer guy, but I am that fully fledged human being where I will tweet again, retweet something that I feel like privacy, on the internet. It's not really programming. It really cross-cuts everything, but I'll totally retweet that one, or I'll do unfortunately something political once in a while.
See,
but you're right.
I don't know if I try really hard not to, but I know there's times where, and that retweet has power, because that retweet does kind of, in effect, look like an endorsement of the content. And you could be retweeting somebody who hasn't done their homework, or, it's like, oh my God, and I'm totally like working through this on screen here on air. This is something I hadn't really thought about in depth until you kind of dropped this flat earth grenade truth, who controls the truth. And it's kind of like we all have this weird responsibility, right?
And one, adding to the list of controversial things I want to bring up, I tweet on my Instagram my guitar stuff.
Hey, you're breaking all kinds of rules here. I thought we weren't doing homework for episodes anymore.
Oh, I'm not. This is mostly off the cuff here. So I'm doing, some guitar stuff. And one of the pictures, I'm standing in front of a cross because I'm doing it at, I'm playing guitar at church. And so I immediately think, oh, crap. If I tweet that, I'm going to get one of two things. Somebody who likes the fact that I'm playing at church, or somebody who's like, oh, he's one of those crazy people who go to church. And I'm like, I can't win, and we're totally, you're right. We're shaping, what people think of us. And honestly, if you spend 10 minutes with me, you'll learn the real me. But if you look at my social media, you're probably building this list of what you think I am. And I'm probably not actually like that at all.
Well, and I think that's important because, we're not 20-piece puzzles as individuals. I mean, we're giant, 10,000 piece puzzles, 100,000 piece puzzles. And in our social media, we're only showing like tiny pieces of this giant picture that we are. But people will put those pieces together to make the puzzle that they want. And that's creepy too.
And what people put out is their highlight reel. I think I saw the quote recently, and I'm going to not remember who said it, but don't compare your behind the scenes with somebody's highlight reel. But that's what we do every day on social media, because people put their highlight reels out and then they look at somebody else and go, oh, well, I'm not as good.
Yeah. And I think that there's a little bit of movement, and I might be guilty of this too, definitely with some of my other shit that I do online. But like, you think that you're putting your behind the scenes out there, but it's kind of like still well prepared behind the scenes. Like, it's still not taking off the mask. There's still the mask there. It's like, I'll let you in just this little bit to make me seem like more of a human being. But I'm really not. That's just bringing in more into whatever that thing that I'm selling. And it might not be a brand. It's like, it just could be the I need friends. Oh God, I'm getting really depressed.
what really bothers me about the flat Earth thing is it goes from just somebody going, yeah, I think this, and some, just one day. Now they're monetizing on it, and then so that person's totally like doubling down on or even going all in on this because now I can make money by keeping perpetuating this. I'm looking at you, InfoWars, too.
What if what if this is the 21st century snake oil salesperson? Like that person, like how? So you watched? Were they all from the same content provider, or were you doing a kind of a shotgun approach and seeing what others were putting out there too?
It was actually I was watching the like National Geographic, ABC News. It was these other people going, man, these people are crazy. And I'm like, okay, great. I hear it and I'm with you, but I want to hear what they're saying themselves out. I just don't want your interpretation and all the like the debunking. I got that. I want to hear what their original content was. So I went to the person who's actually featured in all of these external media outlets. So, it's kind of like one or two people who are like the champions of this movement. And so I went to the one person, I don't want to say his name.
Nope, that's all good. That's all good.
And then I'm like, it's just slide reel after slide reel of conspiracy theory. NASA wasn't real. This picture of Earth is a painting. Neil Armstrong was a paid actor. Stanley Kubrick was paid to do this, and here's our proof. And it's just
so how slick is the delivery?
Brainwash.
Like, is it pretty well produced? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. See, and I think that's a component too, because so you layer in the fact that this dude was featured on all these major news outlets, and that's basically free advertising. So then you drive over to his channel, and you're like, this is pretty well packaged. Seems like it might be funded. Seems like it might be researched. Seems like it might be legit. And then all of a sudden subscribe. And then that guy's monetizing. Well, that person, let's not assume that it's a guy. But that person's monetizing. And are they doing it just for the money, or do they really believe the shit that they're selling?
I think they started out just my impression is that I think they started out as going, I don't know, wouldn't it be cool if the world were flat, and then just that was just all it took. And then now I see money, because humans are they need money to survive in this world. And so when you see a payday, because this person, it was a former software programmer, and I'm like, that's interesting. So he gave up the day job there to chase conspiracy theory. Sure. And then what I actually see is what I see a lot in the programming world, which is these people who go on conference tours. I am a celebrity within my bubble.
Right.
Conference tour types. And so this person travels from town to town, convention to convention, meetup to meetup, and they become celebrities themselves. They create this own machine, and they are the center of this new machine. And I think there's a lot through the whole conference celebrity. It's like, if you're spending so much time at these conferences, do you actually do the real thing, like the rest of us? Or are you just famous for being famous? Are you a Kardashian? And I think there's a lot of that in these conspiracy
I would take that
movements.
gig in a heartbeat.
Well, I think most people would too. I think the allure of celebrity is high on many people's list. But so I think there's total money playing.
So I have a very important question to ask you. So if we were able to come up with a conspiracy that wasn't very well covered at the moment, so if we could become those guys, would you go back to YouTube with me and see if we could make some hay?
Depends. You really have to believe in whatever it is.
See,
Otherwise,
I don't think I'd ever even go back to YouTube. Like, it was kind of a funny question. I mean, like, I hate the platform so much. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty angry at YouTube. And, the overarching thing here is we have Facebook, we have Google, we have YouTube, which is Google, and Twitter. And I don't want to buy into, conservatives are being censored. Christians are being censored. Liberals are being censored. But in a way, everybody is getting censored somehow, some way.
Well, and I think that's the big problem right there. It doesn't matter. Fill in the label ahead of it. There's a lot of censorship going on.
Yeah, I mean, the flat earthers, as crazy as they are, YouTube comes out and says, yeah, we're going to push their results down because they're batshit crazy. Okay, no problem. Good on you. But in the same breath, YouTube, you can't say that you're fair. I just want you to say it, acknowledge that you're not fair. You're taking a stand.
But once again, how are they, like, and you mentioned this earlier, how are they the ones that are going to determine what's the truth and what's not?
Well, Zuckerberg was asked that question. Hey, blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, we didn't intend on being the moral, what's good and bad based on banning and all that. And I think it comes down to you can't. There's just no way you can't.
But what if
you're going to have to make decisions.
What if the government starts pressuring outlets like YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook and telling them what they think the truth is? And those results have to get pushed down on the search results because the government says it's not true.
Well, here in America, I would think it would be unconstitutional because freedom of speech would keep the government out theoretically. But in China, no, that's happening right now. You will get rid of these search results right now, Google, or you get the hell out of our country. So we do have that dichotomy right now. Here in America, it's a gray issue because we have free speech, but oh, by the way, we have this monopoly of information by these same companies, and they are shaping a society at this point. True, false, or not, all the power lies there. And that's what I think the bigger problem is we have a monopoly of information technology. And we should stop letting Facebook vacuum up all these technologies, Google vacuuming up all these technologies. We need more competition, not less competition. Humbly.
What if these large conglomerates, the Facebooks, the YouTubes, well, the Googles of the world, what if that is, now I'm starting my own conspiracy theories. What if that is new state-sponsored media, though? Like, what would stop one of these agencies that we mentioned earlier in the podcast that employs the tactics of propaganda and information spreading, sharing? What would stop them from planting, high level people inside of organizations like that, specifically for the intent of influencing the content of their platform?
There's nothing. So here's the complication on that: the U.S. Patriot Act. So, Bob, I can guarantee you a little more safety if you give up a little more of your freedom. Right. So what the Patriot Act allowed the government to do was siphon off internet traffic from the data center. So AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, they have government-owned routers where it's all sniffed through. And that's where I think the line was crossed back a decade ago or 2 decades ago now. So we've already crossed that line, and I think the government already has their own accounts to shape the narratives. I mean, Russia's doing it to us, like we're all aware of, but we all are helpless. Well, right? What do we do about it?
And they're doing it all over the place, though. Like, there's all kinds of governments that are doing it in many parts of the world that are less sophisticated than ours.
Well, because it's easy. All you need is a smart person who understands the touch points of a particular society, right? I mean, here in America, we've got some pretty easy touch points. We have class warfare, we have racial tensions. I mean, those two right there, and then of course, the politics. I guess that's the third one. Those are easy to just light a little fuse, and we destroy ourselves, I think. Humbly.
I wonder if we're the final testing ground, like all these other smaller countries where where the sentiment, the thought is being swayed electronically, like if those were practice runs, or if we're still part of the practice run because, it's happening every time there's an election somewhere in the world. People are trying to leverage to get a result that they want, and they're utilizing these platforms to do it.
Right. The intent is nothing new. So people have been trying to influence elections since there was the first election. The method to which they are doing it has evolved to no more is it a town hall meeting where you go and you say your opinion. It's I can say it from my basement, get retweeted, amplified, true or not, and be way more effective. And so that's where we have the car crash at the intersection of freedom, of being able to do this stuff, and I don't know if the security of the society, or there's something here. I think we're at risk as a society that misinformation could start some sort of new conflict here in America. And that's what just drives me nuts.
100%. I would say that we're probably, I mean, obviously we're closer to that right now than we've ever been. But I mean, I think that's a very realistic possibility. I think the big question is like, if you and I had unlimited power and unlimited resources, how do we fix it? Can it be unwound? Can it, like, can
you put the toothpaste back in the tube?
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
When does information that we're calling real information, how does that combat disinformation? Because another common tactic is saying, oh, no, this stuff that they're saying is the truth. No, that's not the truth at all. Our truth is the truth.
So there's a famous comic strip where you have a Democrat on one side and a Republican on one side, and they're both looking at the ground, and it's the letter 6 from one perspective and the letter 9 from the other. Like, so it's kind of like the other way. They're both right, are they not? Based on their point of view. And so I think we are to the point now where people are good enough debate. We are a very good debate society with social media. We will debate our point. We will be right through the lens of our group and our cause. And then the other side will also make the same, another case, and they will also feel they are right. And we just have resolved nothing. And all our social media has done at this point is just amplify this division. And so to answer your point, if we had unlimited power, I would break up the tech company. They just have too much power. And I would force who would regulate that? Not the FCC probably, but anyway, some government organization. If you want to buy Instagram, I'm sorry, you can't. You can't buy it. You already are make Facebook, stay in Facebook lane. And when Facebook does new technology, when they want to buy WhatsApp or integrate it, and I think we need some smart people that go, whoa, do you see what's happening here, right? But there's just too much power in the hands of a few, and I think that's a problem. That's what I would think. What about you?
I don't know. I've been struggling since I asked the question. I feel like if you break it up, I think that's a great start, but I also feel like it's just gonna, like, it will come back. And
well, that's where you have to. So AT&T got broke up. Ma Bell, back when we were much younger.
Got the ill.
I was
Ma Bell.
So, and then what you got to do is you got to prevent mergers from happening. So when AT&T and AOL, or whoever wants to buy who the big fish wants to eat the smaller fish, we got to stand in there and say, no, you can't. I'm sorry. Competition is good for Joe User. It's great for the shareholders or whoever, but we can't let that get in the way of it's got to be the greater good for the greatest number here. And so you can break them up, but you also have to make sure that they don't come back together.
See, but I think history has told us that that's inevitable. You break it up and then it just comes back stronger with sneakier ways to get around the current regulations. I mean, there's no way, in my mind, there's no way that Facebook and Google should be able to be as big as they are. Because it's over too many communication platforms. It's over too many, like, you've got voice over data, you've got video services, you've got, it's like really, its tentacles are everywhere.
Yeah, and go ahead and try to compete with any one of those products. It's not just the company you're competing with. You're competing with each of those products that sit on top of a Scrooge McDuck pile of gold. There's just no way to compete. And I think that's what we need to fix. Side note, I don't know if you saw a headline that some European lawmaker called Facebook digital gangsters, I think is what they call them.
Not
because
a stretch
they
at
are
all.
knowingly violating laws. Of course, Facebook's like, nope, no, we're not. Not happening here. So I think you also, to jump in on how would you fix it, so break it up, but I also think you have to look at their trade. Facebook is not in the trade of connecting people. So, mission statement at Facebook. We want to connect the people on the planet because we are such a noble people. And when people are connected, everyone is happy. Yay. Okay, let me translate. We need a bunch of people so we can throw a bunch of advertising at it because we will make it rain on the weekends because it's so lucrative. So I think we need to look at that model. And if you look at Google, it's no surprise that Google's not a search engine company. Google's an advertising company. Twitter is a really crappy advertising company.
Yeah, I don't really
I'm not sure
model.
what Twitter's.
Yeah, I don't see any ads really. I don't notice them. So they can't be effective.
So we got, and then YouTube's the same thing. If you look at YouTube, go, yeah, they're a great video sharing service. No, YouTube is an advertising platform, and then we put out these traps called videos for you to come, and you totally get caught in them. So I think you need to look at the advertising trade.
So have you looked at their TV offering? YouTube has YouTube TV now.
Is that the same as YouTube Red, or is that different?
No, YouTube Red, I believe, is different. YouTube TV, they announced at the Super Bowl, and it's basically a Sling competitor. It is a cord-cutting service. They have, ESPN is on there, AMC, some premium channels as well. But it's a pretty interesting lineup. It's bigger than Sling TV, but it also costs more too. It's like $40 a month. But
I had not.
I don't know how I feel about that.
You know what? Well, here's another thing that grinds my gears. So apps, mobile apps. You'll download an app and you'll even pay for it. I'll pay $4.99 for this app. And you're like, hey, no ads. Cool. But I didn't read the fine print. Not only is it now that I paid you $5, excuse me, I'm burping up lunch. Paid you $5, got no ads, but I didn't read your terms of service because I was thinking that was the only gotcha in this entire thing. But now you actually sell my behavior on how I clicked on things, where I clicked on it, and my data to whoever. So let's say it's a weight loss or calorie counter. So it's like, crap. Not only did I pay you for this, I was thinking I was off the grid-ish, or I had this intimate relationship with just my app. So not only are they making money through ads, which I thought I disabled, but they're making money by selling me, the user, which I really don't want them to do. And I have no way to opt out of that.
Yeah,
and I have really no way to know about it.
That's a tough one, though, because you mentioned like the calorie counting or the exercise apps. And I feel like that data could actually feed back into their product to make their product better, but they're selling it too. So, yeah. And then you shared something with me about apps that are recording your screen movement. And there's nothing you do about
that was on Apple. Yeah, that apparently on Apple, the apps can screen record pretty transparently and just ship it off. And the article I was reading was basically it's supposed to like not record like credit card entry screens, but they did an audit and they've got tons of people's just credit card numbers as screenshots and videos as they put them in. It's just, what are we doing?
Oops.
So,
oops.
as far as unwinding this is where I'm going to pull the old man card, and I want to go back to year 2000 where the internet was really crappy. We had animated GIFs, blinking text, no SSL. Okay, that's a strike. Okay, let's add SSL.
No need for SSL.
And then, I just want to go back where I want to feel like I'm not being in a surveillance state, because it's not the government necessarily watching me, which they might be. I won't even go with that conspiracy theory. I have a tech company or tech companies watching me. And oh my gosh, are they amassing some sort of digital manifesto? And the government's got to like this, because all they got to do is, you're right, we're not surveilling you. We're not surveilling you. Oh, here's a warrant. Hey, Facebook, give me everything you know about them.
Companies are. Yeah. Oh, God.
So I always think people think, Kevin, are you hiding something here? Are you trying to not, you won't give your DNA to this registry? Are you worried about being mad? No, I just want to be off the grid. I don't want to be a tracking point. I don't want Facebook to know every intimate detail about me. I'm sure Amazon knows way too much about my buying habits that I'm comfortable with, but
yeah, we've kind of let them skate thus far. But my big concern is that they end up somebody else's. Like, eventually Zuckerberg is like, hey, Jeff, I'm just going to flow you this $70 gajillion. And now Amazon, just, what's $70 gajillion between friends? And now Amazon is mine. Moo ha 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 ha. Like, that can't be allowed to happen.
Well,
right?
I would hope that, right. That's where the government should say no. And maybe that's like an obvious case, but it's the smaller cases, I think, that get us there, because old men in some committee meeting who make these decisions have no idea what they just agreed to. Oh yeah, you want to buy, what is it, WhatsApp? Yeah, that's WhatsApp. It. Yeah.
So what Zuckerberg will do though is he'll buy Alibaba, or Alibaba buys Facebook.
I was gonna say, I think Alibaba is way bigger than anything, right? Isn't it?
So like that's the oopsie where that all of a sudden happens.
Well, I don't know if they can buy Facebook because they would have to buy their shares, right? Because it's a public company at this point. Same with Amazon. So that's different than buying, say, Tesla, which is, well, I guess Tesla's public too, a private. So different than, say, a private company. So I know you can acquire them, but I'm pretty sure it's got to go through the board and shareholders got to vote and all that fun stuff.
Alibaba buys Huawei, and then they buy Facebook and dissolve it, and Facebook comes back as something else. I think I wrote this to you in chat, like as the script for my next movie, where Facebook crumbles, and then the thing that rises from the ashes is supposed to be like this, this more secure Facebook alternative, and it's really like the ultimate like tracker. And then we are Black Mirror.
Okay, what's the inverse of that? What is the social media network that you would buy into or that you would subscribe to that you feel would be safe to use? What kind of technology can be fake technology?
I don't know. It's not going to work because nobody's going to be there. Like, they're going to say, hey, we're new, we're better, we're this, we've got this protection. And then it's going to be me and the automated, the guy that was your friend right away when you got on MySpace, Tom, right? Wasn't his name Tom?
Yes.
Yeah. It'd just be me and Tom, just IMing each other. Hey, Tom, good to see you today.
All right. Here's a Molotov cocktail statement / question for you.
I love those.
Does Facebook only become what it is today because people are too stupid or don't care enough about their privacy? Is that like a requirement? If people cared about their privacy and were much smarter, do you think Facebook would be as popular as it is?
It's totally a team effort. I mean, there's definitely that element of it. But it's kind of like that. Yeah, I've made a deal with the devil, but man, the devil gives me a lot of cool shit, and it's kind of like it's so terrible.
All right, being someone who's been off platform for over a year, list for me, Bob, the benefits of being on Facebook. Yes, yeah, just that.
Well, I'm actually glad that you asked that question because this goes back to earlier in the conversation as well when we were talking about bubbles and stuff. I like that platform, well, all of them, honestly, because it gives me a chance to diversify and not be in my bubble. Like I've never blocked anyone. I've never, back to the puzzle pieces, you learn a lot about somebody, even if it's just tiny puzzle pieces when you have people that aren't like you on your social media streams. So I stay on the platform because it keeps me connected to a wider world. And I know that sounds like really trite and, advertising, but it's true because yes, I've created my own bubbles just by the circumstance that I have friends, but I also have acquaintances that I haven't blocked that aren't like me, that allow me to have an opportunity for growth. Whether I take advantage of that opportunity or not, the platform still does kind of give me that opportunity that I don't have at the local coffee shop.
So Venn diagrams, the two overlapping circles, yep. So if social media network A were in one bubble and Facebook were on the left, I think it's also, you were saying that you're in different bubbles, but I also think it's a function of how overlapping are those two bubbles, because I would have to think those are fairly still overlapping bubbles, and there's only a few that don't overlap in both of them. Or do you think they are completely dissimilar?
I would say that for me personally, if we're talking individuals overlapping, the number of individuals that overlap in those two circles is smaller than it's a minority because of the divergence of the two platforms. I mean, we're talking specifically about Twitter and Facebook, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I have much more overlap Facebook and Instagram, but that's because they're really the same platform now.
Almost like a monopoly.
Well, but like if
okay.
I look at my Facebook friends and my Instagram friends, there's a definite amount of overlap there because it's so much easier to find those friends because of the connectivity of the two platforms, where Twitter is not directly connected to Facebook or Instagram.
So, Bob, what's the future of social media? Does the world get more, and does the world need more? Two questions.
The world definitely does not need more. We're going to continue to get it, whether we want it or not. And I do honestly believe that there's going to be that massive convergence and that Facebook becomes Instagram, which has already happened, which is, going to become Twitter, which is going to become YouTube. I mean, one of them is going to be left on the outside looking in.
So is this the Chinese social currency program coming to American?
Yeah, it's a done deal. We are going to.
Do you think it's already sort of here?
Yeah, this is the testing ground. We'll be rating, and we'll be knowing the financial situation of our nearby neighbors within the next 10.
It'll be on your credit score. Experian and TransUnion will have your social score on there. It'll be like, you're not friends with so and so, but you are friends with such and such. But we got to bring you down because you're friends with flat earther over here. So,
and someone's going to determine that scale. That's going to be the fucked up part.
Oh man, I'm in my 40s. You think I can make it till the end without having to deal with this, or you think it'll be within the next 40
No,
years?
We'll see it in our lifetime. We will be living Black Mirror episodes well before you and I are punched out of here.
All right, Bob, I'm going to turn a corner here. Amazon. I think I got chased out of New York. Is that what happened?
I keep meaning to read into this because that kind of screwed up our show bit with picking a location anyway, but now it was a single location apparently. I have no idea what happened in New York. That's so weird. It's kind of cool that they chased him out, kinda, but that's jobs.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I read it too. I'm like, okay, yeah, you took down the man, you took down the big corporate giant, and now you're poor. You're poorer than you would have been. So that's a head scratcher too. And a lot of people are saying, well, yeah, because we're giving away all these taxes. I'm like, you may have been giving away taxes here, but you're gaining them over here through housing, income tax, sales tax, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm no expert in that, but do you think they'll just stay in Virginia, or do you think they'll pick a HQ 2.2 or something?
I think it may change their timetable for a future expansion. I think, oddly, I'm going to guess that they saved a shit ton of cash by not having to go to New York now, because they obviously picked two places because they thought that there was no scope or scale for either of those locations to do what they wanted, and that's why they went two. So it's going to be very interesting. It's not a game changer in a negative way, I don't think at all. I think it's just a very, very intriguing course of events that, are probably going to speed them up to build the next mega center and just go for a one-off at that point.
Totally.
The new mecca.
So all right, so let's put our Black Mirror hat back on. Sorry, I just got thinking.
I don't think I ever took mine off, just for the record.
Okay. My tinfoil, my black tinfoil, so burnt dinner tinfoil hat here. I predict within 20 years, you will be required to submit your DNA. If you haven't already, all infants will be collected at time of birth here in the States, and you will have some sort of social score that goes beyond just your financial health. It will also be who you connect to. What's
medical advancements will definitely dictate the guise of medical advancements will definitely dictate the DNA collection at birth. I think that's a no-brainer. The social score thing, be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think you will know, I think fairly quickly, we will know the financial, at minimum, the financial health of our nearest people to us without having to do any research whatsoever. It will become public.
So let's play out the DNA real quick. Sorry, tangent to the tangent to the tangent.
As always on the Bob and Kevin show.
If I have to give my DNA and it's in some sort of government registry, do I need a driver's license or an ID anymore? Officer, here's my thumb for the pinprick.
It'll be interesting to see what biomechanic enhancements come as a direct, because you should be instantly identifiable by scanning technologies if you've given. And I think I'm sure that there's movie scripts about that too, because then they'll find somebody whose parents birthed them off the grid, who aren't in the system, and then they're kind of like rogue entities that live outside the bounds of society, and then there's a counterculture, and but
thinking of Mad Max.
Yeah. I think that when they start that mass data collection, which they will, there will be a biometric add-on that goes along with that, and you'll be instantly identifiable. Probably your retina.
So, three things: your fingerprints, your retina, and your DNA, please. And if you don't turn those in, no problem. You don't qualify for program X, Y, and Z. You can't get a driver's license, et cetera, et cetera. There'll be compelling reasons, right?
And then the new dark technology will be to be able to use whatever that splicer or whatever it's called, slicer technology, to re-encode your DNA so you could be somebody else who wasn't in the system.
All right. And then, so now when you go vote, I mean, voting is fairly anonymous right now, wouldn't you agree? Fairly. They know you voted because you showed up and signed. However, they definitely shouldn't know who you voted for, right?
I think they do know who you voted for because it's assigned to your number that you get when you check in.
Oh, see, I don't know. Maybe
it's one step anonymized, but there's still the connecting between your registration and the number you're given to put in the machine.
Okay. So there'll be a historical record for sure based on DNA that says you voted for so-and-so. So the future hackers of the world will now get copies of DNA and start assigning false identities to real actions. Look, Bob voted for so-and-so. Look, Bob is the DNA sample we found at the crime scene now.
Right.
Bob, imagine that world where where we live in a world where I watch these crime shows where DNA clears somebody or DNA proved it was someone, so because we collected at the scene. Or, and you're trusting that the cops collected it. They're not, trying to do whatever. But now we can digitally place you at the crime scene, Bob. We can say, this is what the lab results were. And because I have a copy of your DNA. And then they drive from Colorado over to Illinois and arrest you and be like, we don't know how or why you did it, but it was you, Bob. And you're like, what the hell?
Oh, yeah. Once it's in the record, then it can be, in theory, it's going to be able to be replicated.
So to bring it back to the flat earthers, yes, I'm bringing it back.
It's called closure. It's called closure.
The one point that they have that is, I can't fault them is let me ask you a series of questions, Bob. Bob, what is 1 + 1?
2.
What color is the sky?
We'll go with blue-ish.
Okay, these are hard questions, Bob. What shape is the Earth?
It is round, sir.
Okay,
It is a sphere.
then,
It's spherical.
and then next set of questions is great. How do you know?
The books tell me so.
Okay, that was the answer I was hoping you'd give me. Thank you for taking
Well,
that.
I've
as
never
your
been to
option.
outer space, so
Nor have I. And so that's one of their tenets. Well, they know that. They know most people have not been. And so they say all the astronauts are just on the payroll. So, okay, so you learn from the books. Well, Bob, let's see. You were alive for the Reagan assassination attempt. You were younger, but you have a high confidence that really happened,
yes,
right?
I was in my teenage years.
You were not alive for the JFK assassination.
No, I was not.
Correct. So you take on faith that it happened just like it happened. Of course, there's a lot of conspiracy theories like that.
Yeah,
but
that might have been
he's
a bad
no longer
instance,
with us.
but yes.
But starting with that assassination, you start getting people who are bending the truth, because people who were there are what? They're now dying. They're no longer there. And if we go back to World War II, did World War II happen, Bob?
Apparently, that's what the books say.
Because the books say so. And if you go on History Channel, also known as the Hitler Channel, it has got a lot of World War II on there. And so this is where you start getting Holocaust deniers, because they go, well, how do you know? You weren't there? And people who were alive then aren't there. So we start blending the truth, and going, well, I don't know. Did it happen? Well, all you have as proof is some book. But if you go back, another 100 years and you pick some historical event, people start not believing things just because nobody's around to give a first person account.
Well, and I think we've touched upon this before too. Even though it's documented, even though it's in the books, the winners tell the story of how it all went down.
That's right.
So
you betcha.
So that's controlling the truth as well, but that's not what we're talking about with conspiracies. But I mean, it's a pretty low hanging fruit to say because you didn't see it firsthand, then you can't validate it. That's one of the first logic flaws of, logic. The refrigerator light is on when the door is open. When I close the door, is the refrigerator light still on? I can't see it, so I have to assume that the refrigerator light is still on when the door is closed.
But it turns off, Bob.
It turns off.
So Christopher Columbus is another popular one where people like to rewrite the history books. And I think that he was not a person to make a holiday after, humble opinion. But we did, and in 1492 he sailed the ocean blue. And a lot of people will say, well, now we shouldn't be celebrating that holiday because of what we found out. And I don't understand how you can find something out 600 years later about a historical event that we had no means of recording anything. Anyway, point is the flat earthers, I think, are using the fact that because you aren't a scientist generally, you aren't an astronaut generally, and common sense will tell you if you look out the window, everything kind of looks flat. And they're going off that, and I think that's
but their same logic stream can be used against them. Who's been to the ice wall?
The Night's Watch. Jon Snow.
Right. So you're like a historic account or eyewitness account relayed to you. So it's the same flawed logic. If you haven't seen it, you can't tell me about it either.
There's a ton of flawed logic in there. And they ask, well, how deep is the ice wall there? They'll say, well, we don't know. And there's probably land past that. So, they give themselves outs all the time. And then people say, well, if we live on a flat disk, how deep is the disk? How far can you drill down? Well, humanity's only ever drilled down 8 miles before, we're just out of viable
no
drilling
more pipe
capabilities. Yeah. So, I think they predicate on all these. Well, let's take all the known limits and put our theory just beyond the grasp of what most people,
Now,
understand or where
to
we
their credit, that's the way every, scientist, astronomer, fill in the blank, has done before them. Their existence is everything that they could see, and then they wanted to see what was past that. That's all science is figuring out what's past what we know.
Yes. And for entertainment, if not just sheer frustration, find some of these. Don't go to like the source people. Go to the like the
lunatic
National Geographic,
fringe,
the ABC News. Yeah, well, go to the people who I think are like just trying to like come on, do you really believe this stuff? And these people's answers are priceless. The one lady, she's like, how do you know the earth is flat? And then she's like, I took out a ruler and I held it up on the horizon and it matched. And I'm like, wow. She's like, oh, it touches on both sides of the ruler. I'm like, wow.
Have you ever been in a plane, miss? Have you ever
can you
do that same thing in a plane? No, you cannot.
And then paranormal investigators, if you've ever watched a single episode of like Ghost Hunters, they have all these air quotes detectors and all, it's like, whatever. And so you see a lot of these flat earth videos that they're doing similar things, just completely flawed science experiments that they're going, see, that's a result. And I'm like, no, that's stupid, So anyway, it's becoming a thing, and I think it's becoming a thing because of social media and the outlook of technology. Like when you're a kid, you look through a popular science, go, look at this. We're going to be living on the moon in 20 years. And the reality is no, we don't live on the moon. We have these stupid social media platforms that know everything about us, and we just hate each other now.
We still might live on the moon.
Well, I'm just saying that's what I got for my 20 years into the future from.
Right. We didn't get flying cars. We got Facebook.
We got Facebook and Twitter and a survey that says more people would like targeted ads than not. And I feel like that's Zuckerberg's answer. We did a study that said people would rather have relevant ads than not. Mark, we just asked you what your favorite color was. That was it. Okay, gotcha. Oh, side note, I don't know how I got this app on my iPad, so I'm suspicious. But my 4-year-old was taking a survey, and I just told her, just pick anything you want, honey. Just make sure you fill them all out. And so I love screwing up the data sets there.
Wow. But you have a data collection app on your iPad that you don't know about?
Yeah, I got to look in to see who downloaded that one.
I'm sure there was sure there was a big prize at the end of the rainbow.
You know what we didn't talk about that we have talked about, but we haven't talked about on air? I cannot delete.
I'm not even sure I can follow that logic stream right there.
Okay. I cannot delete Facebook off my phone. And looking into it, it wasn't before, but is now baked into the Android operating system for my particular device.
That seems wrong. That seems really wrong.
Only thing I can do is disable it and assume that it works when it's or doesn't work when it's disabled. And I can't delete it, so it's a meaty app. It's got like 100 meg or 200 meg of down, space, and I can't get rid of that. Thanks, Samsung. Thanks.
So
a lot.
So do you think that, and we can wrap after this too? Is that a financial agreement between Facebook and Samsung that says, hey, we're going to give you a fat chunk of cash? Could you just make it so people can't delete our app?
Yeah, and so back in the day we called that bloatware. Because, you get a new computer and it's all this crap you immediately got to start uninstalling. But I can't even do that now. So I'm sure there's.
And back in the day, Microsoft lost a shit ton of money because they did the same thing with Internet Explorer.
Yeah. So, Bob, maybe I should start a class action.
But yet that's back for some reason. Internet Explorer is back. Or Edge. Edge is back.
Well, is it back? I thought they killed that too.
No, I think Edge is their thing. They're going to bring in, they're going to use Chrome's rendering engine, I think, in it. But remember, like for a while, Edge was getting installed with Windows 10 again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I still think that's the case, isn't it? It's bundled. Anyway, you're right. It's.
Oh yeah, there it is. It's still here. It is still here. Well,
you know what?
I was waiting for you.
Oh, I was gonna say, we've gone long into the show. We haven't even disclaimed any of our.
Oh, I don't even think we need to disclaim on this one. All the crazy ass thoughts of Bob and Kevin are the crazy ass thoughts of Bob and Kevin as people, and not necessarily thoughts, opinions, or crazy conspiracies of their employers.
And I'm not a flat earther. Neither is Bob.
Well, that you know of.
Okay, Bob
might be a flat earther now because
after he watches the videos,
it seems really cool.
Yeah, all the cool kids are flat earthers, I guess.
So, should I bring the flat Earth lightning?
Yeah, go ahead and do it, Bob.
I just did.